Y'all ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. At this time, which is 6:31, we will call the City Commission workshop to order. We stand for our invocation, please. Dear Lord, we thank you. We thank you for another day. It's been a rainy day, but Lord, we need the rain. It's dry and we know we need the rain. And you know what is best for us. So we thank you. We thank you for allowing us to meet once more to take care of our budget for this year. We ask that you continue to bless us and continue to guide us so that we can stay on the right road. These things we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hear, hear.
All right. All right. It says roll call, please.
Here.
Here.
Here. Okay, so we shall proceed with our first item.
Yes, ma'am. First item is the water fund. Just as a matter of comment, I had the opportunity to sit through the public comments at the Suwannee River Water Management District. And oh, let me tell you, this is so much better. Anyway, I can't. All right. The first fund tonight will be the water fund. This year we don't have the CDB grant, which is $700,000. And you take out that grant, very close to the same.
Remind you about we're going to have to carry over.
Oh, thank you on the water. Yes, absolutely.
That was a question.
I need to carry over, unlike making a mistake last year and not carrying over and then have to readjust the budget, $200,000 because this water project won't finish till November.
So when the first reading comes, unless we have an outline, first reading comes, we'll have $200,000 that'll say here appropriation of prior year funds.
Right.
But if you look on the revenue,
Okay.
except for that SR, that will be there. So
Right.
200, and then we'll drop the expense to match it, so it's going to be in and out.
In and out.
That's a
Yeah.
wash.
It's just the $200,000 is a wash, and we may be wrong by a few dollars because they haven't presented their
There's, and it just
cost.
makes it, there's no issue from a timing standpoint that we're not getting done that they would pull it or anything like this. I mean, everything's
Well, we've asked for an extension.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
He's already signed it, and it's,
Yes.
I think we have it for another year.
Yeah, for another
6
year.
months.
We pushed it way
Okay,
out just in case.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not like most projects, the contractors like as many projects as they can get, and sometimes they slow down on some of those they already got. So
Just to get another one.
that's it. So, however, everybody has water, and so there's no issues about that. Just they are in the process now, having put in all the pipes, now starting to connect homes, and that's probably more time consuming, would be one home at a time.
Okay.
So, oh, never mind.
The water fund pretty much stays the same. It will have a small growth every year as we put in more homes, looking for another 100 this year. And so they'll all be on the water. Any questions on that fund? The next is salaries. And salaries have gone up slightly. It has to do with the one employee that we're going to employ that's going to put in water meters and be on call whenever there is a problem for a zero read. And what that will do is actually more than pay for his salary is in the additional revenue. There will be some people who will all of a sudden, having been paid the minimum for a long time, find their water bills go up and will have a little bit of a problem with that.
The question on those lines, on this one, is there any, guesstimate with the person designated to do these, a time frame?
Oh, it's a time frame?
Within the year, would you anticipate that?
We would anticipate them to next
Without
year.
a doubt. And I have David reporting every week on how many they've done.
Okay.
So I have a better feel on what they're doing every week as he gives me a report on what he's done here and how many roads he's done, repairs and stuff like that.
Where's he working now?
Where, David?
No,
He-
no, the
He's
contractor.
Oh, the contractor, it's a good question. I've been out there a few times, and they're kind of in the cleanup phase, but then they have to start connecting, so they really haven't connected anybody yet. All they've done is put their pipes down, and they're pretty much finished with that. So they'll start going from one house to the next house and
I just
connecting
keep
up.
watching the ones out in my neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
and I know the one right there at my yard. They've got the faucet on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if they were starting a connection process in that area somewhere.
They probably will.
Okay.
I haven't nailed them down to exactly, but they'll go from one to another. They're not going to jump around. So we can keep track of them, they can keep track.
I was just curious.
You bet.
When I saw that faucet, I said, well, why is it there?
In the water fund, the capital outlays, we really only have $50,000, and that's for buying more meters.
We'll add the additional 200 that we're carrying over for.
That is correct. So
So it'll
be
show there.
modified slightly.
Yeah, it'll show up there.
It'll show there.
Mhm. Everything remains the same. The only thing is we're hiring one additional person.
Can I ask a question? Will there be any way to where you can compare timeframes? So let's say in a year from now, when you've got all the new meters working, would there be any way to basically say, this is how much revenue we've gained as a result, and compare, you follow what I'm saying? The usage is gonna stay the same. I'm assuming we should see a pretty dramatic difference in the amount of revenue connected, even though the water usage, because we've lost so much water, not being metered. Am I making sense?
You are, there's other factors, for example, by summer.
Sure.
And they're watering more, like, you know, this summer.
Okay.
There's, not a lot.
Right.
Not enough here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
water. So, consumption-wise,
That's fine.
But one thing these meters do is, as we look at them, because then they get a graph, we can probably look over and tell if anybody is cheating, or if there's any associations cheating or anything else, and then we can, kind of.
Will we get a report, once this other person comes in and you start discovering the zero
Mm-hmm.
usage, so we know how many people are now, how many, well, I guess at least, we may not know how many months it's been going on, but at least how many have been at
We
a
can do
zero.
Actually, I can
At the
also.
base rate, really, not zero, but the base rate
we
only.
can
Yeah.
definitely give you, month over month.
Yes.
How many had zero reads
Mhm.
every month.
Right.
So, yeah, we could do that real easy.
And how many meters we put in, because
Yeah.
we now have a better handle on how many meters we put in every month. So, and I'd say, at the end of the year, or end of this physical year coming up, I think we'll have them all taken care of, because they've been going for the last 10 years this way.
Mhm.
I don't pointing fingers, but we're just making up on on everything, just being more businesslike. And truly, everybody should contribute to the running of the city. You know, you don't, this isn't trying to get over on City Hall.
No.
Although some people feel that way. All right, we're talking about the sewer fund.
Did we do
And,
everything else on
this-
the water fund?
Did we miss?
You went through the operating expenditures. Did you go through the operating expenditures?
There are capital outlays. The only thing, and we talked about $50,000 in radio reads, which are the meters.
That's the meters, okay,
That's the meters.
okay.
With what we have on hand, plus $50,000 worth, that'll keep them busy most of the year. The sewer fund, we will have an adjustment as soon as the $3.2 million project starts on this budget. But I don't expect it to really take place for about 8 months. The reasons are that they have to be engineered. It takes attorneys and all that, their attorneys, to write up the contract. And we expect about 8 months, which works out very well because we have the Camp Kalakwa project that's going to start in the next 60 days. So when we get that well done, then the other project starts. And so when that project comes out, then we'll go for a third project. So we'll look for 2 good-sized grants going at any one time. And truthfully, that's as much as we can handle. They're happy with us because we spend their money fairly quickly. And so their problem, I guess, with a lot of cities are they give out grants and they wait for several years to even start. They like us because we get shovels in the ground as fast as we can get them. Sewer fund, it's going up some. It here is that last year it was $1,027,000, and this year it's $1,726,000. Part of that has to do with the $500,000 grant that we received. Also, the 144. And I'll report on all these on Thursday. But the $44,000, apparently most of them have already been engineered, and we have the easements to it. So we're taking I guess, the low-lying fruit out of this first group of 14 because they're already engineered and they already have the easements already dedicated to them. And then the next group would be a little more difficult. We haven't gotten that grant. We'll go after that grant. Those are easy grants because they're river grants, and they have a lot of them, and they have a lot of money that wasn't spent. The larger grants, more difficult to get. On page 64, the issue has to do with the health and life. Everything remains the same as far as the personnel. It's the life and health insurance has changed from $19,080 to $21,000.
Why did the regular salaries go down?
The regular salaries went down.
Before?
Right.
Okay. Okay. And includes the 3% in there? Okay.
Sure. Now, we're going out for bid for the life insurance, and Jenny is doing that. We're having our agent find us the best deal. We're with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Yeah.
Good luck.
This No, yeah, but we're going to make him work for his money this year. But I would imagine the school board went into the same thing, that you raised your health insurance quite a bit? Yes, no? Now, no comment? No comment.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're on page 65, operations. The operations went up slightly. Most of the increase came from contractual services, that's the grinder installation. That will always go up a little bit every year as the grinders get older. That fund will continue to take a little more funding.
What's the 20,000 contractual service?
Okay, so it's gonna take a little explanation, all right? We have the sewer plant, and right now, the sewer plant has no screens going into it. The new ones will. So all the rags, sand, and everything actually go into the sewer. We have about 5 to 6 feet of stuff in there that has to be pulled out. Once we pull that out, the operation will be much more efficient in doing that. So this may be an overkill of 20,000. It may cost much less, but our engineers are now going out for bids on this since they are most familiar with this process of vacuuming, pump out all that. Not an easy process because we've got to shut down the sewer at night. This will be a nighttime operation. What we'll do is sometime in the day we'll pull down all our lift stations and then we'll stop and allow them to start filling up as we empty out the tank. And then once the tank is emptied out in the middle of the night, we won't allow any more sewer in. We will take out the material that's in the bottom.
But since you're putting in if you're looking to put a filter in, then you won't have to go through that process?
Till we build the new tank. And once we put in the filter, it's not, there are some sophisticated pieces of equipment out there, but truthfully, this is just a screen. And it's a screen with metal rods, and it allows the fluid to go through and traps all the rags and stuff. It will require somebody to clean it out twice a day. That's the only, but it keeps the operation of those sewer plants. And this is kind of this is an old school kind of a solution. The new technology, because of the environment and that, really doesn't work well. I'm familiar with this, and this is what most sewer plants have. Ours does not.
What does ours do right now?
Everything just goes right into the sewer plant, sits on the bottom. Sooner or later, it will interfere with the operation, which is the thing that stirs in the bottom. So we've got a lot of feet full of stuff, and once we take it out, the operation will be much more efficient.
How often do you have to do that?
We have never done it.
I know, okay, but do you anticipate having to do it once a year, or?
No.
Oh.
No, this is a one-time thing.
Okay.
Then when we build the new tank, we'll be able to transfer into that tank and then take care of this one very easily.
Okay.
Finish it out. So, probably one more time in 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Cost, well, I put 20,000 in there because I really didn't know, but it's probably going to be closer to 10, 12.
Okay.
But this gives us some additional funding if we need new grinder pumps or something else. Move those funds around. And when this is all over with, we'll give you a certificate to be an actual sewer operator.
You can be.
I deal with enough simple things on a daily basis.
Yes, you do.
So what are you buying for 35,000 under capital outlay?
35,000 is a truck that has a lift to it. See, right now.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Yeah, we need to take the grinder pumps out.
Right.
And we have one that's kind of leaning, and it's really only semi-functional at this time. So
Okay.
what we'll do, but we're not going to get rid of the truck. The truck has some value, it's just it can't take that weight back there with the wrong size truck. But we'll put that truck in, and somebody else will take it once we take everything off it.
Okay.
Everything else on here is straightforward. It's very little change from last year to this year. Things will change quite a bit in this fund as we become more self-sufficient. There will be less funds from other places going in and taking care of the bond and that. It'll be able to take care of itself. I'll mention it again on Thursday, but we were successful in keeping that grant. Even though a disgruntled person, yes, didn't want to see it, but I think we're doing good. We are at solid waste. Solid waste, we have very little expense, except for maybe the ladies taking the payments in. But this is basically, and this also includes a small increase in the fee for the solid waste for WCA. And that was in their contract. It's like 1.5%.
Yeah,
So
but the commercial's going up more than,
yeah,
that's because you didn't have the breakout before for some of them, and you did that breakout now.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah. We're not changing rates. We're only adjusting the rates to meet what the cost for the city is.
Right.
It's making it fair and level.
Fair and level is what it is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Some of them were less, some of them more.
Right.
It's making everybody.
Yeah.
That'd be the same.
Now, there is one small change in the staffing. The staffing really shows that instead of 0.8, it's really 0.75. That was pointed out to me, a small addition.
Yeah.
That's all right. Otherwise, everything remains almost the same. The total cost for employees has gone down, even though their salaries have gone up slightly. And basically the total revenues of $738,000, which again will slowly go up because of the new housing we have. Then we have the proposed at $733,000. And after you take the expenses, the transfer out is $202,000, which is the expense to the fund to the general fund. The word profit is a no-no. This is for the expenditures in the general.
Yeah, that's not, is that under the Maximus?
Administrative cost there.
Yeah.
Page 70, nothing really there. For capital outlays, now we're into the fire fund. Fire fund.
You have the CRAs next on your agenda. if you're pushing that to the end, that's fine with me, I'll just,
Sure.
on the agenda, it just shows up as being next.
Okay, I would, all right. All right, 84. Do you want the CRA director up here?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Let's see, is this? Which one, I've got two here, let me make sure I got. I guess this is. Yeah.
I think she should be up here. She's
Right.
more familiar with
Sure.
the budget than I am, to be honest. Okay.
Okay. Yes. So, in your packet, you have, one budget. This was prepared, by the city manager and the finance director. On Thursday, I had presented, the one presented by the CRA. They are similar, but there are some differences. So the one that's on the screen now is the one prepared by the CRA, and I will go over it. As you can see, our contribution from the county has gone down to $75,718. This is based on the fact that they are going to be matching our millage rate now. So ours is the same. The City of High Springs appropriation is $39,964, and this is first of 5 equal payments over the next 5 years to replace the funds that were inadvertently not put in over the years. Our appropriations of prior years is $166,820. This will change as we get closer to September, when we have to move everything into a designated category. It will go up probably another 30,000, I would say, due to the new grants that were awarded last Thursday, but that will not be paid out. So that will increase by that amount in September before the final. So that is our revenues. Is there any questions?
Well, I guess when I'm looking at the revenue that's in the city's presentation, it's different,
Correct,
and I guess I'd like to know why.
as would I.
Okay, where's the? Okay, but I'm also looking at, all right, so she has the appropriation of prior year funds at 166,820. You've got it at 235. Well, which one do we use? I mean, which is the
I think
appropriate way to do that?
I believe I know what the difference is. I had accounted for that we would complete some of the downtown sidewalk project for this year, the engineering portion of it. And if you look, I don't know where it would be. I believe if you look on the next page when we get into the expenses, they have the entire sidewalk project moving over to next year's. My projections have been that we will have paid for the engineering before the end of the fiscal year, but that may not be the case, and it will roll over.
So if it does roll over, then we'll be at the 235.
Correct.
Okay, now the other thing is that, which I don't see, I see the contribution to the city of High Springs for 39,000. Where's that in the cities? Is that somewhere else?
You added it
But-
together, right?
Add
Right.
it all? Okay.
We're going to need to break that out, though. The
Okay.
county was very specific that they don't want to see this appropriation coming from ad valorem from the city. They want to see it as a separate, distinct line item on our budget when we do it.
It's still, but, yeah, okay, but
It
it's
is
still
just-
going to go in,
Correct.
it's still going to be given to the city.
Right.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I mean, it's okay that way, budget-wise, budgetary-wise, okay.
there any other questions on the revenue side?
I mean, if the county wants to see it as two separate things,
Mhm.
it needs to be two separate things.
Yes, they're gonna wanna see it two separate on the budget. They want to show that we, are paying back in the installments. So they're gonna wanna see a separate line item.
Can we get that added in?
Right, so we'll move on to expenses if there's no other questions. On the cities, all of the salaries were added together. And it's still different than what I have, but we'll work on that. So my proposal was to increase the number of hours that I work to 34, to an increase in salary of 47,736. And I was asked to provide examples from other CRAs of what their executive director in similar situations is making. So that is what I did. I will hand them to Jenny. So it is difficult to find what most directors and executive directors are getting paid. So what I looked for were similar sized cities or similar size budgets or districts. So I found three. One is for Pinellas County. They recently started in the past year their own CRA district. They're one of the only counties that has one. So this position is called a planner, strategic plans, and they will be handling the CRA type activities. It is, Jenny, you want to put it up on the screen? So this year, this CRA will have a TIF contribution of 0, but the county, of course, will be putting in money. And as you can see what their annual salary for this planner one is.
Can't see it at
Just
all.
tell
Oh, it's 49,000 to 79,000 for their annual salary. And it is the same kind of duties, but it is a non-executive management position, so there's nothing as far as budgets, reports, anything like that. This is strictly as a program manager and planner.
What's whatever district is here, what's their budget?
For this year, it's near 0. They haven't got it up yet, finalized, but in talking to Pinellas County, they just got it finalized this year, so they will have 0 in TIF. All their contributions will just be from the county, just as an appropriation and not as a TIF contribution.
Basically, they're starting one.
Right. This is a brand new.
Hiring a director, not by that title. but
Correct.
49,000.
Correct. The second one is the city of St. Cloud. Their district is slightly larger than us. They get about 400,000 in TIF each year. And this is a CRA coordinator. Again, this is not an executive director, so they don't, do the budgets or any of the more executive level details. But their starting is 45, and they go to 70. And then the last one is the most similar to us, and this is Eatonville Community Redevelopment Agency.
What is
And Eatonville, you know where Eatonville is?
Nope.
It's a very small town of about 1,500 people. So their district is smaller. Their budget is very similar to ours. This is a brand new position that they have created. They have never had a CRA executive director either. It was handled by their city manager, and their salary range is 50 to 65,000. And they're
Alright.
the most similar as far as ability.
And
and
are
skills.
these all full-time positions?
Correct.
I guess the problem I have with this is that we're getting hit by the county now for having high administrative costs,
Correct.
and this is just gonna add more to it.
Correct. So that is true. But in doing that, I'm looking at also at the Maximus. Some of those administrative costs will need to be deducted because I'm doing a lot of it that we are paying to the city for, and we probably can have that decreased.
But, Ms., to our finance director, if we reduce the amount in one category, we have to reduce it in others, right?
That we talked about is the legal. There's legitimately putting legal into the CRA so we can take that out. But as far as, you know, when you start talking about administrative things that are being done, it's very hard to take that out because you're talking about paying bills, purchasing, payroll, doing the, you know, all of the financial statements, managing. It's not real easy just to, I mean, based on this, it's not something, honestly, that I would be comfortable doing. Like I said, legal is very straightforward. We have an outside attorney that we won't even, I mean, we'll self-pay his bill, but I mean, then there's, you know, there's the rents and there's the utilities and all of that, I would not be comfortable doing that.
Okay, but I guess when you say pulling it out, what you're, as I understand it, whatever, I guess percentage is, maybe that's the right, that's the right word. If you reduce the CRA money, then the other funds have to be reduced either by that percentage or that ratio or something like that. Is that correct?
I would feel more comfortable actually talk with Maximus about it, but I don't know whether they would want to come back. I don't think they would feel comfortable either with that, because it is this very complicated formula, and it's not just real cut and dry about taking out. Like I said, the only one I'm really comfortable with is legal, because what they do is they take the services of each department of the general fund and what it does for water, for sewer, for CRA, for fire. I mean, you know, let's look at fire. I mean, he's paying 3 times what you're paying, and if you go look, I mean, if you really start getting to it, you pay $24,900 to go get a place to rent, to get a person to do all the work that's being done. It's not, I mean, it's very comparable to what you would pay if you are a standalone organization.
Correct. And in speaking with the city manager, my recommendation was to only take out the attorneys. To decrease
that's only
that one.
That's $2,000, I believe. 2027 would be the only thing that I would feel comfortable taking out.
But that's, but even if you take that out, which I would be fine with, you're still looking then at this. First of all, you're looking at giving us salaries of a full-time person, and you're not full-time.
Correct. Because it would be so I looked at my contract, and the way it's written, it says average of 34 hours. According to fair labor standards, I put, you know, for salaried positions, I'd have to make $47,400, or I have to be hourly, which I am not opposed to going hourly. The problem with that is there are a lot of times now where I'm working more than the 30 hours than I get paid for, and that just wouldn't be the case. So I am okay with going to hourly. That's not a problem. It's just that I will have to stop at a certain time. And there will be some stuff that does not get done. So, I just want to make you aware of that. So, or I could be allowed to go up to 40 hours on certain, weeks.
And then
We
you
can
take
decide
off
that.
the
I won't be allowed to. So you can't just,
I know it has to be a week per week.
right.
Are you at 30 now?
I'm at 28 for the CRA and 2 for farmers market. And I am requesting also to consider rolling the farmers market under the CRA as a CRA program and not as a standalone. And the reasoning for that is with the grants that the farmers market has now, there's a lot of reporting that is required for that. And
Go ahead.
I'm not sure the manager is getting paid enough to do that reporting, or we're not have a manager at the level that could do all the reporting that is required. So that is my suggestion, is to move it under the farmers market, under the CRA. Then we can also share a lot of the expenses as far as marketing and other items, because it's hard for the farmers market to make a profit. And it's going to continue to be hard the way that it is structured now with the manager. It is going to be very hard for the farmers market to ever make a profit or break even. Because the expenses, as you increase your vendors, your expenses go up, so does your pay to your manager.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. I guess that we've always looked at the farmer's market as just being a wash and not be there really to make a profit for the city.
Okay.
And maybe it should be looked at differently. I'm just saying that that's the way it's always been.
Obviously we'll vote on this, I guess, at some point in time. I'll just simply restate what I said before. I don't think the salary should go more than $5,000, which we gave the rest. That's what we gave to the other directors. So I would not be for the 47. I would be for raising it $5,000 as the rest of them, and then adjust your hours accordingly. It's just like anybody else who works. You have to work, figure out, prioritize, and do it. I would not be for, at this point in time, and I read the reports, I would not move the farmer's market underneath right now. I don't see a reason for it. It looks like when I read the documentation, it seems like everything's going fairly well, unless somebody tells me otherwise. I think we need to get everything else under control. I think there's several issues that we would have to address. At what point in time do we consider the CRA position to become full-time? I think that's a separate issue in itself.
Right.
When we did this, it was a part-time job. I'm not ready yet, this year at least, I'm not ready yet to go to full-time, but I do think that's a conversation that has to be had. And when you do that, then I think the farmer's market and things like this, when you go full-time, then I think makes more sense to bring it in, because then you're the exempt employee and you have as many hours. Then I think they roll together.
Okay.
So that's me now. And so, but I'm done.
No, the farmers market has done really well this year. There was discussion of removing the CRA, like I wouldn't oversee it at all next year. Which if that's what the board decides, I'm fine with that, the commission. I do recommend that if it's not overseen by me, that there's somebody designated in the city to meet with the manager very regularly and go over things like marketing, vendors, complaints, the grants, those kind of things, because there is a lot that needs to be done with it.
Yeah, at this point, I don't have a problem with it continuing as it is. And keeping it where it's overseen by you.
If Amanda's fine with hourly, that works out good. Me personally, I do want to see the farmer's market. If it doesn't stay on the ground, I'd like to see somebody specifically. Because I have instances in the past of been other groups in the position with the farmer's market.
Right.
I think there needs to be
He's a city
one
person.
city person or CRA
Yeah.
person in charge, kind of.
Right.
And I'm not talking about our current manager, but if you kind of rein the farmer's market in, they're stepping their back. That has happened.
Yeah.
But if Amanda's fine with being hourly,
Yeah.
fine.
I'm fine with the 5,000 on
That's
that.
what we did for everybody. I think that'll keep everybody happy. It'll just be something we have to, like Commissioner Williamson said, it's gonna have to be something we have to discuss about. If she does go over 30 hours a week for a lot, you know, we're gonna have to figure out where we're gonna adjust the revenue from, and then eventually figure out whether this is something we want to build on for the budget.
Right, and, you know, and the other thing is, we have this thing hanging over us with the county at this point too, that's trying to push, and I don't know, we don't know at this point. We're gonna need a year for that to work itself out, I think, to see what happens on that too.
That should help.
You know, so,
Maybe.
So let me ask you this, at this point, if that's the case, if we go with raising the 5, then you just simply readjust the numbers when it comes time to vote on it? No, I'm just saying, that's what we'll do, I'm just thinking going forward.
you've already gotten, your budget is based upon the 5,000, the one that's in this packet? Oh, so this would come back before us already,
Okay.
as it is then?
I would like to see CRA and the city get on the same page on 2 separate budgets.
Yeah.
Yes.
To me is a little confusing. So before we vote on this, I'd like to make sure all the different issues, like having the thing for the
Separate
city
line
and
items.
two separate line items.
Right.
Just make sure all of the different issues would go down to the CRA.
That's how to,
Cleared up.
how the budget's presented.
Yeah.
Correct. And I will present this budget and we'll make sure that they're exactly the same by the September CRA meeting.
Good enough.
September 1st. The other thing on personnel before we move on, and this is, it happened in the last couple of weeks, our half-time employee is no longer with the city, and so now we will be trying to get a 20-hour solely dedicated to the CRA instead of sharing it with Public Works. So that's why there's a difference between the life and health on the cities and with the CRAs.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions about personnel before we go on to operating?
Nope.
And these ones, the city and the CRAs are very similar on these numbers. The big differences from last year to this year is that we are increasing the professional services from 5,000 to 8,000, and this is to pay for master plans for James Paul Park and the downtown. And we will also need fewer services directly from the Planning Council, as all of our maps were done this past year. And I don't believe we'll need any additional support from them as far as for plans. The next is the contract service for the attorneys. Due to the ongoing issues with the interlocal, our attorney fees went up this year, and so we don't expect them to be the 7,000 next year, but that's what they're going to end up being this year. Is probably about 7,000. So we are going to put that in for next year as well. We don't know what kind of issues we may have.
Sure.
Okay. The contract services with the City of High Springs, you'll see it decreased in my budget, and that is due to the attorneys taking out, so that we were being billed by the City of High Springs and we're being billed directly by the attorneys.
Oh, okay.
So that's why that number is different. So it went from 24,590 to 21,619.
Yours shows it down, but not the cities, because you just haven't
Correct.
taken it out yet.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Training and travel is the same, I believe. Let me find. Yeah, repair and maintenance is the same. Repair and maintenance building, same. Promotional activities, it is decreasing, and this is due to we'll be doing more online and virtual advertising and less print advertising. and it costs less to do it that way, and we found that we've gotten a much better response from it than from the print. Operating supplies will remain the same. Murals, we are decreasing from 6,000 to 2,000. Everything else is the same as for last year. So we'll go down to the murals, which is under billboard and murals. We are decreasing it to 2,000, and this is due to the fact that we're going to be trying to get more quilt murals for the walls, and those are only $500 each. So we should be able to get 4 quilt murals for the $2,000. The grants to others, which is I have next, but is farther down. We are decreasing to 40,000, but at the last CRA meeting, it was recommended to move an additional 12,843, which had not been allocated to that fund. And what we are budgeting is 5,000 for nonprofit grants, 25,000 for facade grants, and the remainder will go to the fire suppression grants. I'm working with Bruce now to get the details of that. It may be more than what we need for next year, as it'll be a new program, and we're not sure how it'll be received, but we really want to get that going, as it'll really be a boom to economic development as well as the historic value.
So your total is not 40,000 then?
No, it's
75?
$52,843.80. That's what it'll be shown.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. I was looking at that 5,000. I was thinking 50,000. That's why I said, what's this?
And that's another one where I hadn't had it allocated yet, but that would be in the at the beginning when it says the appropriated funds. That's also included in there, the extra $12,000. Then we have the downtown parking project. So this is funding to pay for the Farmers Market Pavilion parking. We're just rolling over everything from this year to next year. And no additional funding we're requesting.
It's not before us here, obviously. I think it's on the next agenda, the bids for the pavilion. The budget. Okay. Are we going to have to adjust this budget based on that? Do we have we have grant money, but this is sufficient? Okay.
But we will have to go back and adjust it because our funding was solely for parking.
Right.
Not a problem. We can move some over to pay also for part of the pavilion, and the remainder will go to the parking.
Okay.
But we won't know that till we get the bids back. Next is the downtown sidewalk project. On my budget, I am showing that we roll over 93,400. It does look like we may not have the engineering done by then. In that case, we would also roll over an additional 18,610. And then I am requesting an additional 1,040. That would be for the maximum expected, projected amount. And that way, if our bids come in at maximum, we're still okay. And then the last one is the playground, parks, and other projects. And I have that on the city's budget is improvements other than buildings. And I have that at 14,000. And that will include the signs that we want to get next year, as well as any additional projects that may come up during the city. Any questions?
Break's over, Ed. Break's over.
Break's over. Thank you. Wake up. Okay. All right. We are at the fire fund. Okay, this budget was based on $93 per year for the fire assessment. The fire assessment went out at $100 per home. That is the maximum that it can go out. Last year, the fire assessment was at 90, and we have put it at 93. And we feel this is still below what the average in this area. And to give you an example, Newberry charges 124. And so they have the same services we do, for 2 in, 2 out, and very similar kind of equipment. And Bruce is here to ask any questions. The total fund at $962,000. This year it's $961,000.
No,
81.
981.
I'm sorry. Go clean off my glasses. Yes, 981 has gone up slightly.
That's because of the additional 45,000 from the contract, basically?
Yes. The now this fund may totally change if we get the FERDAP grants.
Safer.
Safer grants. I'm sorry, FERDAP. So many grants out there. That's right, the safer grants. And we won't know that till either the end of this month or first part of next month. If so, we will. That will be before we adopt the budget, and then we'll quickly change and figure out what we're going to do. That would be a real plus. And
how much is that you're going for?
the safer grant.
Mhm.
That, yeah, $245,000 a year.
That's for like 3 years.
3 years.
Right?
Excuse me, 2 years to hire that person,
Right,
then it's 3 to get an extra year.
right.
Right, and we like veterans.
Yes, sir.
So we saying 245?
Yes.
That's what it all costs.
Mhm. Yeah, they,
It includes benefits.
You know any veterans and firefighters?
well, they're fairly easy to find, though. We'll advertise in the Army Times and Navy Times and all that.
In all honesty, probably 2/3.
Mm-hmm.
Does it qualify if we already have military people, or
If you-
it has to be
You
new hires?
staff on it.
No. Yeah, that's exactly where we're going.
Part-time, full-time conversion, but we've got to eliminate full-time positions.
Right.
Can we call in the fire chief and then fire him and hire him back?
You could do that, yeah.
She's gonna do a lateral transfer with that amount per year.
No. Right now, though, I think I'm doing better in the sewer, but that's all right. All right. Page 72. This is salaries, and again, the salaries will change drastically. It's at $675,000, at $691,000. A lot of that has to do with the 3%, the increase in life insurance and health insurance.
What's the fire fees?
The what?
The halftime administrative assistant.
Oh, yeah, and the halftime administrative
Right.
assistant.
What's the fire fees of 8,000?
Fire fees of 8,000 is double the
Yep.
pay that volunteers get as their stipend for
Oh.
running costs.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. No. Page 73. This is the operation fund. This has gone from 89 to 95,000. The capital outlays are with bunker gear. Actually, this only really buys a few of them. They're what, 1,200 each.
I just got the latest quote for 1875, but can't be totally 600.
Now, is this for new people, or is this just replacement
This is
equipment?
to replace gear. We got some
Right.
gear that's broken 2009
Mhm.
We purchased 2007, it's approaching its 10-year age limit, so we gotta start replacing some of that stuff.
And what will change it with the bunker gear also is we hire full-time people. They'll need new equipment to go in there, but they'll certainly pay for their equipment because we won't be paying their salary. So we'll change this budget around some,
If we get the grant.
if we
Yeah.
get the grant.
Okay.
That's right.
And the capital outlay.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
the
this
bunker.
also includes the county paying us $175,000 instead of the old rate at $145,000.
Mhm.
Somebody negotiated that extra 30?
Only because I have the,
No, I don't need to know, I just said somebody negotiated the extra 30.
yes. I guess I'm gonna have to put it up on the wall. Right. And again, the fire control fund, the capital outlay is at 5,000, which is really kind of a minimum. We're really counting on at least part of that SAFER grant fee to go through. Part of the reason why we're kind of optimistic is that this grant we went is funds that they had not spent this year. So we're not nearly as competitive as all the rest. If not, we'll put in for it again. We'll keep putting in for it and we'll get it eventually. Yes. The cemetery reserve fund at $10,438 is now at $9,238. And this reserve fund this is a totally different fund. We're at the cemetery?
Yes.
No. Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, okay. Okay.
We already did the cemetery work.
Okay.
Right.
That was in public.
Public works,
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a little confusing, you don't really.
True. The page 75 is 0. And it was 0 last year and 0 this year. And again, the reserve fund at $909,238. It's not a.
Where are you going?
He's going to check on the SAFER grant. Thank you. Right.
Sorry.
Page 77 reflects the $9,238 that are in that fund. Page 78, there is no capital outlays. There will be in future years, but not in the next few years. And a lot of it depends on how much business that Jason gives to the city.
Don't forget about Byron.
Yeah, but that's kind of indirect. Impact fees. Now, we have reduced, this is page 79, we have reduced the impact fees. That's because we had a dip in construction, but now it's up. But this all goes into a fenced fund, so even though that might be artificially a little low, if it goes up, then we'll adjust, but we're not spending it anyway. And so now we have an uptick, and you know, it depends on the economy and who makes
Okay.
president and everything. It's hard to determine how many houses are being built at any given quarter right now.
But when we do get that 3.5 million, those people will be paying impact.
Oh, that's
Right.
So we'll work out that.
that goes up, but
So
also
that
the 100 homes we expect in this coming budget year to be built, they'll also pay impact fees. So and it looks like all of a sudden we had a downturn, but I think they had built so many, they just slowed down, and now we've got the uptick. Most of our subdivisions are now putting in for, including my own, for a number of housing to be built. Impact fee funds, that's zero on page 80. Page 81. These are some reimbursements, 17,000. And then there's contingency at 15,000, and I guess the 83,000 is the sewer debt that we're paying, so that the total expenditures are 118,000, which matches the revenue.
What's the water reimbursement? What's that in the sewer reimbursement? The 5,000 and the 12,000.
Development. I think they pay us and then they have to pay back.
Okay.
That's the old thing. We don't know how much they're doing, so we just kind of
Okay.
see because they got to build.
Okay.
And that leaves us at page 82, which is the capital outlay, which there is none. And it's nicer to have a budget that we're not having to scrimp so much for stealing from everybody. So, but we're going to keep it extremely austere, even though the budget itself may expand. The problem that most cities have as their budgets, there appear that their revenues are expanding. They tend to expand their expenditures exponentially more, and then they get in trouble. We're not going to do that. We're not going to hire a lot of people or buy a lot of equipment. We're going to keep it extremely austere. That's my recommendation to the commission, which you certainly have the authority to do, but we're going to recommend that we keep it austere. Your questions?
No? Everybody happy? Yeah. Do we have any comments from the audience?
Crowd control.
I guess.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I was about to say, I guess with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.